Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for bearing with us, and welcome to our webinar on creating your own brand true GPT in under 20 minutes. Chris Bin, our CEO, will be running the session today, and we will have a live Q&A at the end. We're using Slido to gather your questions, so please join us. There is a link in the LinkedIn comments section for you to add your questions as we go through. And without further ado, I'll hand over to Chris Bin and leave the stage.
Thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. Just fiddle around with my camera so that I'm actually in the shot. No, this way. There we go. This is quite a short session. I'm hoping to kind of do it fast, so don't worry about following along. You can we'll supply the video afterwards, and there'll be some resource materials afterwards so that you can go back and do it at your own pace. What we're going to look at today is building a custom GPT that writes in your brand voice. And in order to do that, I'm going to show you how to create a GPT, a custom GPT, and I'm also going to show you some documents that we can use that would need to create that will make that work better. So I'm going to also show you the prompts that we can use to help ChatGPT to help us create those documents quickly. So hello, if you don't know me, I'm Chris Bin. I'm the CEO of the Coders Guild. We do training in digital, technical, vocational things. So AI, obviously, a big part of that. We've recently just finished our work with Skills England to create a new apprenticeship in AI and automation that should be coming out live early next year. And we also do skills boot camps in AI and automation that's government funded specifically for SMEs. And that's available currently in Greater London and in Lincolnshire and Rutland. So if you would like to know more about that, drop your name in the comments and give us a wave, and people will get in touch to let you know more information about that. So this is a repeat slide from last time. As we dive into this, we've already done a session on ChatGPT basics, setting up custom instructions, and a general thing about the interface and projects and stuff. So if you want to go back and check that out, you can look on our LinkedIn page or look for shares that I've done. You'll be able to find that. Also, it will be on our YouTube channel. So most SMEs are already using AI tools, but in general, they're being underused. Everyone's doing a bit of content. Everyone's doing a bit of email help, but there's so much more that we can do. And the good news about this, I think, this revolution, this evolution that we're all a part of now, the great thing is that the learning curve is not at all as high or as steep as it would be doing something like learning JavaScript, for example. So there's not a lot to learn, but there are some fundamental things that will have a really good return on investment and really quick to learn. So let's get stuck in. I'm going to jump into a live demo, which maybe isn't the best idea. But let me just queue up my presentation. So we should, if I switch to this, that's the wrong one. I'm just going to add another. Oops. Share screen window. Here we go. Here's my ChatGPT one. Right, here we go. Back to the live demo. I switch to this now. Yes. Okay. Right. So here we've got ChatGPT. Ignore the developer mode thing. That's something else that I'm tinkering with. The interface should look the same if you pay for the basic version of ChatGPT. So one second, if we just move some things around. Too many things on my desktop. Right, here we go. So as a bit of a recap from last time, we looked at the general interface of ChatGPT, where starting new chats, the settings, and so on. And we did look briefly at the custom GPTs. So over here is where your GPTs live. That's the specialist versions of ChatGPT that you would create to do specific tasks. So in the Explorer, if you remember, there's lots of things that are provided by other users or companies, different versions that you can interact with, and you can also create your own. So as a reminder, here are some of the ones that I've created, that I've pinned to my sideboard here. I have Matey. Matey is my general email help and general assistant. Then we've got Scott, who's our Coders Guild copywriter. Clara helps with biz dev things, and Quincy is about standardization of learning material. So they all do these very specific tasks. Now, what I'm going to run through today is a basic version of how I built Scott. So to talk about this, if we go to create a new GPT here, then we can look at this interface. So you can, in this configure mode, give it a name, a description, put in your custom instructions. You can change the conversation starters, the little buttons that are at the that come out just above the chat box, and you can add files for the knowledge model. Now, what I'm going to show you today is the create part. So you can do this, and you can do all of that configure part just in a chat interface. So there are a few more things to consider with this GPT, and we're going to add some more information to it rather than just set up this this basic one. But because I'm lazy and I'm not good at typing, especially when people are watching me, I'm just going to do this with the dictation in the voice mode. Today I'm setting up I want to create a GPT that writes copy in our brand tone of voice. So I'm going to give you some extra documents and instructions. Go ahead and ask me some questions first off if you want any clarification on what we're doing today. And I like to give my GPTs a human sounding name. So choose one for yourself, or if you would like me to choose, let me know. So I've just given it there the basic set of instructions, and luckily it's transcribed me in English. Sometimes it does me in Welsh. Nobody knows why. And I'll just wait for those for it to give me some questions. So that sounds like a great man. Just to confirm, goal here to build GPT, write copy in Coders Guild, brand tone of voice. So this is kind of this has picked the stuff up for the Coders Guild for our company because of the custom instructions that I've put in. So if you were creating this afresh, and I might say that this is, maybe we'll say oh, this is for a different brand. So actually, this is not for the Coders Guild. This is for a different sub brand. So we can start basically from scratch. Let's pop that one in. Okay, so let's imagine that we're doing this for Think Circle, which is our women's leadership brand. So I'll just add in some additional information here. So this copywriter is going to be for Think Circle, which is a women's leadership course and community that we run. The main audience would be women who are in leadership positions or who are aspiring to be in leadership positions. Could be in any industry. Mainly they are in technical or professional, but we also do things in other industries like construction. It could be other things around any sort of industry, really. And for describing the tone of voice, I think I'm going to I'm going to create some other documents that I'll put into the knowledge base that will give you more information around that. Yes. And then this is the sort of things that we want. So yes, that's correct. That's exactly what we're looking for. Social media posts, website, copy, email. Yeah. Course materials. Yes, exactly that sort of thing. Now it's going to think of its own name, hopefully. Evelyn, mate, we've already got Clara, Ray, Elise. Grand. Let's go. So great. Let's go with Evelyn. Okay. Well, let's have. Let's not go down the uncanny valley. Let's have like a cartoon comic image rather than a more realistic one. The pictures are taking some time. Once we get through this this first bit, normally I would spend a bit more time on these questions, but obviously I'm trying to do this at pace. Oh, that doesn't matter. We'll come back to the image at a later date, or maybe I'll choose one. Grand. Now I am going to ignore this next bit. I think if I had more time, I would probably continue this conversation to get more of a basic setup. But if I'm just going to go ahead and create this now, I'm going to allow anyone with the link so I can share it with other people in my team. I'm not going to put it in the GPT store because it's kind of like a private one. But also you could create things only for you. So Evelyn's now saved. Now, once that save is confirmed, and there's the link that I could share with other people, and we can view that GPT and start interacting with Evelyn. Now, Evelyn is not going to be writing in Think Circle's tone of voice just yet because we haven't really defined it. So there's a few key documents that we can create to give Evelyn a really good idea about how to write copy in this brand voice. So the first thing we're going to need is a tone of voice document. Another thing that we're going to need for definite is an overview of the business or the organization and how it exists, why it exists, how it makes money, that sort of thing. And then the other thing that we're going to use is we're going to create is an ICP, or ideal customer profile, or a thing about personas, so we know who are the sort of people that Evelyn's created this copy for, who's going to read it. So in order to do this, I'm going to pop back to standard ChatGPT, and I have in my prep some pre-written prompts. So in order to create these documents, and I just will run through the sort of things that I've put into these prompts. I've given it a kind of a role, so that contains what put some parameters on what ChatGPT is going to do, how it's going to approach the problem and answer the questions. So really, we're looking to create this tone of voice document, and I want them to ask. I want ChatGPT to ask me questions. I don't want 10 questions at a time. I want 1 or 2 questions at a time, and then I'm going to respond to that. Use follow-up questions to dig deeper when responses are vague. I don't want ChatGPT to hallucinate or just decide things when asking a question would give a better result. I'm also going to give examples of writing that exist already that we feel are in the correct tone of voice. And so I'm asking the GPT to ask me what I like about those examples and what is important about them. I'm putting this thing in about avoiding making assumptions, always look for clarification, again, to like limit the hallucinations. And I'm leaving it up to the GPT to tell me when it thinks it has enough information to draft something. And then once we've got the draft ready, then I'm inviting another round of feedback. So here's a draft. What do you think about it? So this is kind of, I guess what I'm explaining here is how I tend to work through documents with large language models. Is all about drafting and asking questions rather than trying to do a big thing first off and then seeing what we get. So this, I will just copy that whole prompt, pop it into ChatGPT, and then wait for my next questions. So clarifying that, how would you describe the Coders Guild's personality? So remembering that, this is a good example of, we retain things in our brains, but I've started a new chat. So the thing that I was telling Evelyn about how she was about Think Circle, not the Coders Guild, isn't in this chat. So now I've got to redefine that whole thing. So what I would, the routine I would go into now is I would be engaged with this chat through this whole process. I would be asking I would be asked questions by ChatGPT. I would be doing dictated answers to them to save time, but you could also, of course, type your answers in. It's going to ask us a couple of questions at a time. It's going to go through this whole thing, give us a draft. We'll feed back on that draft. Again, I would do that in as a voice note, but you could do it in text, and we would run through that whole process. And at the end of it, we would get a document to download that we were happy with. Or maybe we'd get a draft of a document and we would take that off, and then we would work with our colleagues to say what they thought about this tone of voice document. The next prompt I'm going to show you is about the business overview. So in this case, I'm giving it a different role. So I'm pitching it now as a brand strategist. So before we continue, we want to set the initial parameters of like, this is going to reduce the likelihood of hallucinations and going off down different steers. So it would be different if it would get a different business overview document if we were giving it the role of a finance director, right? Or if we were giving it the role of a specialist in law or business development. You know, we're reducing the being clear about what it is that we want as the output, something that's about branding. So again, I'm following this 1 or 2 questions. Always clarify. Don't make assumptions. This is the things that are going to be in the prompt. And also I've got these things about, as a minimum, I'm going to want to know about the products and services, business goals, mission, typical customers, USPs, differentiators, things that people are saying when they leave good reviews. But I'm not dictating it. These are the only questions that I want to be asked. So when I would be pasting this prompt in to a brand new chat, I could probably do it in the same one. I don't think it would make that much difference. And then we'll go through the same process and get that second document. Likewise, I would go through the same thing, but now I'm talking about the ideal customer profile, the personas of the people that I'm speaking to. So now I've changed the role again. Now they're a marketing strategist. And that's the main thing that I want ChatGPT to help with. So explain what an ICP is and what personas are, how they differ. So I'm getting that education bit. I'm letting ChatGPT teach me about these things, just so that I'm clear about what the difference is. And that makes my feedback better because we are defining what we're doing, and then I'm able to feedback better on the results that I'm getting. So it's these same things, always probing for details, just trying to reduce the assumptions and hallucination. Some steer on the sort of things that we're looking for. And then we're going to want 2 or 3 personas, and then the ICP. So we're going to end up with another document. So these ones, all these prompts I'm going to put into a blog post that we'll publish next week with this video attached. So if you want to just copy and paste these prompts to create your documents, that would be a good idea. Also, once then they become your own, so you would be able to adapt these prompts to fit what it is that you're wanting to do. And maybe you've already got these documents as well. So maybe your ICP document already exists. And here's a list of some other documents that would be useful to add to the context for this GPT. A customer value proposition. So if you've got a customer value proposition document, then you could add that to the copywriter too. Elements of value. So this is a Bain & Co.'s thing of like understanding what is the value that you represent to your customers, and how do you communicate that. So that's like a workshop thing that you could go through. You Google that and find a workshop to go through. Customer testimonials, case studies, existing copy that you've got that you're pleased with. Like especially if these are longer documents, they're going to give a good idea of your writing style, of what you think is what does good look like, is what we're trying to do. FAQs, products or services, like a feature sheet, competitor comparisons or analysis, brand guidelines. All of these sorts of documents would be really good to add to our GPT. So once we've gone through that whole process of creating those documents and we've got them as Word docs or Google Docs or Open Docs, whatever, then we would go back to Evelyn. So if I go here to Evelyn, I'm just going to start chatting with that version of Evelyn. But if I go to the GPT, so the Explore, then I can go to my GPTs, and then when they all pop up, Untitled. Here's Evelyn, and I go to this edit. Then I'm coming back to the configure side, and then I would be able to upload the files here. So then I would be uploading all of those files into Evelyn, and then she would have all of that information. So that's kind of like, you can't really think of it as memory, but it's a knowledge base. So what this helps with is, when you are asking for a piece of copy and it's coming back, then if you think, oh no, that doesn't really align with our customer value proposition, then you can query that and say and challenge the GPT. Evelyn, I don't think that really aligns with our customer value proposition. Can you go back and check that in your knowledge base? And then you'll get a better result without having to re-prompt and re-feedback all of those things. So it's the context window, what it's actually able to hold in the context window is not going to be everything that's in the knowledge base. So you don't want hundreds of documents in there, because the diminished returns. You want 4 or 5 main documents, and that's enough. You want these documents to be quite short, and you want to be referring back to them. So you might start a particular chat with your copywriter saying, like, this is for this persona in our customer profile thing. So that will change how that copywriter is writing that copy. So let me just scan my notes to see if I've kept everything. Now my final bit on another document that you might include. I have a document here, which is, let me just check that I'm sharing the right thing. Yes. So we've got Coders Guild language do's and don'ts. So this is a document that it's a live document, and we add to that helps Scott in particular as a copywriter not write things the way that we see large language models writing copy. So for instance, we use simple active verbs. We write as if we're speaking to a person. instead of third party. We use everyday phrases. I don't know about these ones, but and it's much more conversational. So this is a list of things that we see in copy that we're getting back that we don't want to see there. So every time we're getting this, we're creating a feedback loop and telling Scott that we don't want to see those sorts of words, that we don't like holistic ecosystems and paradigm shifts. We don't feel like that works well with these. The things that we see all over LinkedIn with the LLM copy delve into. It's not this, it's this. Think this, think that. You know, those sorts of things that we see that now are just becoming sort of just flags or signs of AI slop. So we've got this like live document. So we will be adding to this when we see things that we don't like, and then re-importing that document to the knowledge base of that GPT. And then what that does is it keeps the whole thing fresh, because these are evolving tools. So the more that you put back into it, the better results that you are going to get. Okay, now I need to pop back to my slides. And as a recap, so our big takeaways: the custom GPTs are going to work best with real inputs. You don't want to, the documents that go into your knowledge base are super useful, but don't put too much in there, because then it's just too much to hold in the context window. The good results come from good conversations, the backwards and forwards and the redrafting of things, and then also remembering what was good and what was not so good, and then getting that information back into the knowledge base. It's all about the conversations and the back and forth. And my third point, which is kind of my regular one for these sort of things, is you can start small, but you do need to start. Last thing to mention, if you like this sort of content and you would like to learn more, if you think this sort of thing is useful for yourself or your business, we do run government-funded courses in this stuff. As I said at the beginning, our apprenticeship will come out. You can use that in Q1 next year. You can use that apprenticeship to upskill yourself. You don't have to hire someone in to be an apprentice. And we also have opportunities in London and Lincolnshire, for skills boot camps, which is a shorter course, around 3 months of part-time learning in AI and automation. Right. So my questions, I'm going to do a quick Q&A. I think I have gone over slightly. Rob, you're back. Hi.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for that. That was a very fast-paced demo. I just want to give a bit of information for everyone that we will share these prompts, and I think a blog post is planned to come out with the information. But if you'd like to get in touch for some of the prompts, we're more than happy to share. And we've got a couple of questions.
The free tier, is a paid tier thing, creating a custom GPT. But you can, on a paid tier, create a custom GPT and then share that link with someone who is on a free tier. So a free tier person can use your custom GPT, but you need a paid tier to create them.
Okay, doke. So how regularly do you update your GPTs, and how easy is it?
It's literally as easy as going to the list of my GPTs and clicking edit, deleting documents, changing it, go to the conversation bit. You could even, the interface that I showed where you've got the configure and the create, you just go to that configure bit and change stuff, drop documents, add in a new one, update your do's and don'ts, change your customer value proposition. All of those things you can just go in. We tend to update some of them more regularly than others. I would say that Scott the copywriter is the one that we probably update the most, because we are we're constantly having buzzwords removed, or we're getting bits of copy back that we don't really feel like sounds like us, and then we'll have feedback on that copy, and then we will get the feedback as a little nugget and then put that into the guidelines.
Lovely. Right. That's all we have time for today, everyone. Thank you very much. Please keep the conversation going in the LinkedIn comments. Get in touch, and we're happy to share the prompts. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much, Crispin.
Thanks a lot. Bye now.